Vivo X Note review. A 7-inch screen with OriginOS makes for an offbeat experience. Vivo launched a pair of new smartphones, one slab, one foldable, last week that are so far exclusive only to the mainland China market. While everyone's attention has been drawn to the foldable device, the more conventional slab, named the Vivo X Note, has a couple of interesting features that set it apart from the sea of slab phones on the market. The first is its size. With a 7-inch display, the Vivo X Note is the first phone from a major brand to break that 6-point-something-inch barrier in over 3 years. The last phone I can think of that went this big was 2018's Huawei Mate 20X. The second interesting factor is that the X Note runs on OriginOS, Vivo's China-only software that, while still in Android skin, looks drastically different from most other versions of Android. It makes Vivo's global software, FunTouchOS, look understated and plain. While the X Note is not on sale in Hong Kong where I am based, I was able to borrow a unit from importer Trinity Electronics. My early impressions? Vivo's hot streak in making beautiful hardware continues, but OriginOS is just a bit too funky for me, and I'm guessing most readers. The first thing to note about the Vivo X Note is that it is a big phone, but it also isn't really that big. What I mean is that, if you're one of those people who find even standard non-Ultra Android flagships like a OnePlus 9 or Galaxy S22 Plus too big, then the X Note will feel absurdly gigantic to you. But I am someone who has been used to Ultra and Pro Max phones, and my first reaction when I grabbed hold of the Vivo X Note was, oh, that's it? This doesn't feel that big. Sure, the X Note is noticeably taller and very slightly wider, by 2 to 3 millimeters, than the iPhone 13 Pro Max and Galaxy S22 Ultra, but the X Note is a bit lighter and doesn't have the iPhone's sharp sides or the pointy corners of the Galaxy. I find the Vivo X Note to feel more comfortable in the hand than either of those devices. Other than the size, the Vivo X Note is a very standard Android flagship phone, and if you've seen Vivo's previous devices, the craftsmanship will feel familiar. The X Note comes with either a black frosted glass back, the model I tested, or vegan leather back in blue or gray. What I find odd was that even my glass back model has texture on the left and right side that resembles stitchings you'd find on leather goods. It's subtle, I don't mind. I am a fan of the new circular camera module, as I've always liked how circular modules look. I think the OnePlus 7T looked better than most OnePlus devices, and the Huawei Mate 30 Pro gets my vote for all-time best looking back. The camera hardware is almost identical to the system seen in the Vivo X70 Pro Plus, which is very good news in my opinion because the X70 Pro Plus camera system is really, really good. There are, as far as I can tell, only two noticeable differences in the cameras. The X Note's 2x telephoto zoom lens has a smaller image sensor than the X70 Pro Plus counterpart, and the X Note's ultra-wide lens does not get that miniature gimbal stabilization system. Every other feature, from the Zeiss T-coating lenses to the V1 imaging chip handling image processing, is still here in the X Note. Remember years ago when Android skins, particularly those from Asian brands, had wildly different looks and feature sets that deviated significantly from stock Android? Those days were, in my opinion, both fun and frustrating. I remember every phone having a different navigation system and #40. LG used on-screen buttons, Samsung used physical capacitive buttons but with the back button in the wrong place. Meizu had a quite clever all-in-one button that was both home and back, etc. and #41. I remember Vivo putting the shortcut toggle page in a swipe-up menu that sprouted from the bottom of the display, and I remember Samsung's TouchWiz icons looking very garish. In the last couple of years, perhaps due to Western consumers, reviewers' critiques and demands, every Android skin began behaving similarly and closer to how Google envisioned things. This made for much better Android skins. I no longer care about using a third-party launcher when it was a must-download for me back in 2016. But it has also brought about a uniformity that feels a bit boring. Vivo's OriginOS sort of brings those wild days back. It is an Android skin with app icons of varying shapes and sizes, that looks similar to iOS 15, interactive widgets directly on the home screen, a cacophony mishmash of colors, and dragged-out animations. As I said, the software is perhaps a bit too unpredictable for me to use as a daily driver, but it's eye-catching, ingenious in parts, and definitely a breath of fresh air. The above pictures show what the OriginOS home screen looks like. There is no app tray. All apps sit on the home screen. A swipe up from the dock brings up a list of nanokits in the second screenshot below, which is what Vivo calls interactive widgets. These interactive widgets are mostly for Vivo's own native apps, but some of them, like the interactive music player widget, work for Spotify. I am a fan of how some of these interactive widgets work. For example, the weather widget, in the third screenshot above, is scrollable. I can swipe horizontally to check the weather later in the day. The recorder widget, in the second screenshot below, can begin recording audio with just a tap of the record button on the home screen. You don't have to jump into the recorder app itself to begin recording, though this makes me wonder if accidental recordings will be quite common. Every widget, even some app icons, has subtle animations that move on the home screen independently. The clock widget, for example, has moving clock hands. The calendar app will change the day and date at midnight,